and welcome to NatFun, the tabletop role-playing adventure game where the dice and normally a few friends tell the story. But for this episode, we're going to switch things up a bit. My name's Jackie, and I played The Wretched, a solo deep space disaster survival RPG game system that utilizes a deck of playing cards, a single 6-sided dice, and a block tower to add additional tension to the story. The game is set on an intergalactic spaceship struck by disaster, floating adrift with one sole survivor. It is bleak. It is dark. And it was a soul-searching endeavor to play. But boy, was it a great adventure, and a lot of fun. One thing that made the gameplay even more immersive was the soundtrack that was written and recorded specifically for The Wretched. And with the permission of the game's creator, Bisette, we will be featuring it in this episode. Something else of note is that this year is the 5-year anniversary of The Wretched. And just last month, the creator announced a sequel called The Haunting of the Wretched, which is about to go live on BackerKit. So whether you are already a fan or soon to be, wink wink, you can find both of those links to the original game and the BackerKit sequel in our show notes. Now, the way this game system works is that each turn represents another day in the game where the player rolls a dice to decide how many cards they draw, which, once drawn, are matched with prompts in the operations manual to represent the tasks your character faces that day. You then journal how you accomplish and overcome each of these tasks, sometimes with additional steps, like drawing a block out of the block tower. And at the end of each day, a captain's log style audio journal entry is submitted until you are either rescued, get the ship working, or met a different fate with less survival options. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed playing it. If so, and if you want to hear more details about the gameplay, prompts, and how I developed my captain's log, head on over to NatFun on Patreon and check it out for free. You'll find the link in our show notes. And lastly, before we start, I do have a content warning. This episode features a high-tension, dark, dramatic storyline and may not be for everyone. If it pushes your limit, go ahead and hit the pause button, come back to it later, or skip it. Stick with your comfort level. And with that, I hope you enjoy the engineer's log of Stratter, the last survivor of the Wretched. It's my first time doing this. Day 86. Salvage ship, the Wretched. Flight engineer Stratter reporting. The other members of the crew are dead, and the engines remain non-operational. Though ship integrity remains good, and life support systems are still active. I successfully jettisoned the intruder from the airlock, but it remains alive and continues to try to access the ship. With a little luck, I can repair the distress beacon and somebody will pick me up. I hope. This is Stratter, the last survivor of the Wretched, signing off. Whew. Day 87. Salvage ship, the Wretched. Flight engineer Stratter reporting. I tried to keep things routine. Started with checking support systems. I had to step over bodies as I worked. Down one of the main corridors on level 2, I saw them. Deep gouges in walls and the floor, left by that creature. Writhing mass of tentacles and hooked claws. I had no idea the claws were so big. I ran my fingers along one of the deep grooves and saw an image of Reynolds, our chief security officer, in full battle armor with a massive claw protruding out of his chest. I got lightheaded, couldn't breathe. The room started spinning, so I came back to the communications office and barricaded the door. The computer says systems are still functioning, and I wasn't up for facing all that today. I'll try again tomorrow. Flight engineer Stratter, signing off. I'm taking my mental health day. Day 88. Salvage ship, the Wretched. Flight engineer Stratter reporting. The comms blinked to life for a brief second. Tried to run over, but by the time I got there and reached for it, they had fallen silent and the light turned off. It was muffled, but I think I heard somebody say something about ready to jump. This corner of space is off limits for a reason. Unfortunately, when I ran over, the rifle on my shoulder fell off and slammed onto the ground. I nearly pissed myself thinking it was going to go off. When I went to pick it up, I was reminded of how I got it. When that creature first attacked, I locked myself in the mess hall. There were a few crew members already in there, all deceased, but a few of them were armed. I had to pry it from Cobbs's cold, dead hands. Couldn't hurt, could it? He wasn't going to use it. I spent plenty of time shooting squirrels back home, but I don't think this is going to do anything against the likes of that creature. Been carrying it for a couple days now. At the very least, it makes me feel a little bit better to have it on my shoulder. But yeah, the day it all happened, all I saw was a writhing mass of tentacles, maybe? Claws or hooks? Who knows? To be honest, I closed my eyes and tried to hide as soon as I caught a glimpse. And that sound, that dreadful sound pierced my ears. It was a high-pitched screech echoing down the corridors of the ship. Once it got close, it was so loud I had to cover my ears. And then today, when I was working in the communications room, first I thought it was just the high-pitched sound of the electronics, until I heard the ebb and flow, followed by a faint metal scraping sound with a soft, rhythmic tap to it. That creature's testing the integrity of the ship. It's searching for a way in. But I had to keep my head straight today. I had to keep my spirits up. I couldn't shut down again. I couldn't afford to shut down again. But it was hard to remember anything good. I tried thinking of poems and music and songs, and the only song I could remember was the one my daddy used to sing to me. Good times never seem so good. I'm gonna survive this. I'm going to have good times again. Flight engineer, Caroline, signing off. Bum, bum, bum. Day 89. Salvage ship, the Wretched. Flight engineer Strider reporting. Life support had some abnormal readings today, and when I went to check it out down the starboard corridor, I was leveled by the destruction this thing caused to the ship. The further I walked the corridors to perform general maintenance, the more problems I found. Spent nearly the whole day patching holes, resetting systems, and searching for spare parts. Never know when you might need them. Might as well have a stockpile. But the worst damage I found was a lost cause. The asteroids that struck didn't just damage the engines like we'd thought. They'd left the lander module beyond repair. There was no way it would sustain life. No sense in keeping something else drawing power from the ship. I jettisoned it away. Maybe it'll draw the attention of that creature. At least I can know this airlock is secure now. As I continued to check life support systems along the first and second decks, the air became heavy and thick. It was hard to breathe. It was hard to see. My vision was blurring. The life support systems had shut down completely. I stopped checking support terminals and went straight to the main oxygen pumps. I was crawling on my hands and knees by the time I got there. But I was just able to reactivate the computer. It had been flashing an error message. No life forms detected. Shutting systems down. Does the system think I'm dead? Is this even real? Am I a freaking zombie? Flight engineer, Strider, signing off. Rains. Day 90. Salvage ship, the Wretched. Flight engineer Strider reporting. Every night is the same dream. Me working on the ship, keeping systems functioning, with that high-pitched whine ebbing and flowing in the distance, and that rhythmic tapping on the metal hull of the ship of the creature, just searching. Then, it fades. And I realize it, but my stupid dream self doesn't. I watch in terror trapped behind glasses every time I continue working for just a few minutes. Sometimes hours. Then, I hear a loud screech, and as I turn around, bang! The hatch to the control room blasts open, and a mass of tentacles, teeth, claws strikes me, and I wake up. I've been inclined to write down what it looked like in my journal, but it's always just the same. I stopped writing about it today. But not everything about today was so bad. All those pieces I've been scavenging while making small repairs paid off. Today was a great day because I was able to repair the distress beacon and activate it. You hear it too? Maybe that will live on in my dreams tonight instead of the creature. I finally have something I was missing. Hope. Actual hope. Reaching out. That someone is out there. Reaching out, touching me. Flight engineer, Sweet Caroline Strider, signing off. Good times never seemed so good. Day 91. Salvage ship, the Wretched. Flight engineer Strider reporting. I remember when I first hid from that creature. Right before it flashed by the window and I turned away, I saw Reynolds, chief security officer, running backwards down the corridor, rifle fully engaged, swinging wildly back and forth. And it just occurred to me today, he wasn't trying to hit it. He was trying to draw it away. As he shouted, "I'll see you in hell!" He bought us time. And by us, I guess I just mean me. But idle thoughts and busy hands, that's what we need to be doing here. So I set out for my daily routine, gotta keep things running, keep doing something. And I noticed that the corridors near the mess hall were dark. Checked a couple of service panels. Didn't seem to be a computer problem. Turned out it was a wiring problem, which meant I had to crawl up into the wiring tunnels to repair them. It was a tight space, but felt oddly comforting. I'd never been on such a big ship before I joined the Wretched. It was strange to be on something so big, and yet have it feel so small, because there were so many people around. But once the creature tore through it, and the crew, it sure does feel big and lonely again. I'd be lying if I didn't say I stayed in those tunnels a little bit longer than necessary. Felt safe up there. But after successfully fixing the wiring, and having not heard anything on comms since activating the distress beacon, I figured I'd take another look at the engines. Maybe see if I could get us moving myself. I am an engineer after all. But I didn't realize how shredded the internal systems were. And just as I was starting to make progress, a stray spark from my welder caught fire. Normally, we have a full team that responds to a fire, and even then it's dangerous on a spaceship. I was lucky to make it out of there, and was forced to immediately jettison the engine from the ship. We won't be flying anytime soon. I miss the crew. I miss my friends. And I miss her. She was my supervisor, and she had the most beautiful eyes I've ever seen. I could get lost in them in an instant if she were here. She always knew what to say, what to do. And she liked me the same way I liked her. Last thing I said to her as I blocked her kiss with the palm of my hand was, "I can't take the risk. It's my first mission." I'll regret that for the rest of my life. Whether that's the next few days, years. I'm sorry, Inara. Flight Engineer Caroline, signing off from what'll be my first and last mission. Day 92. Salvage ship, the Wretched. Flight Engineer Strider reporting. Had the same dream again. Reynolds being a big dang hero, and me being a coward in the engine supply room. Maybe I should have helped. Maybe it would have made a difference. Maybe I wouldn't be here anymore. I mean alone. Maybe I wouldn't be here alone. Well, not entirely alone. A few days ago, found a stuffed bear on one of the crew while I was searching the ship. It was Simon. His daughter had given it to him. He talked about River all the time. They bought it at a trip to the zoo the day before we launched. She wanted him to bring it so he could remember her. It helps me sleep. And, though I never met her, I remember her every day. I don't want to be forgotten. We had more than one engine. I figured maybe the others weren't damaged as badly. So I headed out. See if I could patch it up. Get it functioning. And I was sure to not use the welder straight away and take my time figuring out what's wrong before setting to fix it. But by the end of today, I was no further along than when I started. Flight Engineer Caroline Strider, signing off. Fun fact of the day, polar bear fur is hollow. I couldn't believe it either. Day 93. Salvage ship, the Wretched. Flight Engineer Strider reporting. I've got most of the systems running steady. The hardest thing about each day is passing the time. Who knew I was this good at my job? Reading's light, but I accidentally grabbed a journal and what I thought was a stack of books from the rec hall. Her name was Stacy. She was a mom. She talked about her kids quite a bit and how much she missed them, and her garden with the fountain her husband installed, her dog Wayne. She even talked about missing mowing the lawn and the smell of fresh cut grass. I can't even remember what fresh cut grass smells like, but sounds like she had a pretty good life going on. It honestly was a good distraction for a bit. But then, I swear, it's messing with my head now. While I was in the communications room, the comms lit up. As they crackled to life, my heart nearly lifted out of my chest. But all that came through was a metallic, gravelly voice. Feared. Hungry. Always hunting. Never stop. It was then that I noticed the ebb and flow of that whining, screeching sound, and the metallic taps had stopped. I shut off the comms and waited for the creature to come bursting through the door, just like my dreams. But it never did. After a while, I turned the radio back on. Silence. Except for that whining shriek, metallic taps orbiting around the ship every so often. Was the creature taunting me? I was pretty uneasy, so I headed to the airlock where I jettisoned the landing pod. I knew it was secure and had a view outside. I needed to see if it was still out there. But after an hour or so not seeing it, I gave up. But as I was walking back to the control room, a loud slam up in the air ducts, followed by scraping sounds heading towards me. I fell down running and booked it to the closest supply closet, locked myself in and barricaded the door with the gun. That's what I used the dang thing for, barricading the door. I'm an idiot. Then I heard the air circulation fan stuttering in the ducts. It happened all the time in Block C. The burst of air knocking the ductwork loose. Once I had the courage, grabbed a nearby ladder and checked it out. Sure enough, my first repair job on the ship caused me to run for my life. This creature is going to be the death of me, if someone doesn't find me, somehow. Things are turning sour. I've noticed the water's not tasting right. I checked the water purification systems. Everything's fully online and operational, but I worry that ain't gonna last much longer. Maybe it's just the ammonia in the water going to my head. But reading that journal earlier got me thinking. Someone should remember these folks. I can't move the whole crew by myself. Gotta keep the ship running and the distress beacon active. But I could remember some of them. So I spent most of my evening moving the crew that I could to the airlock near the sleeping quarters. Cobbs, Ripley, Shepard, Chuck, and Kaylee. She had signed me onto this ship. This wretched ship. Through sweat and tears, I got him there. I said a few words, honoring how each of them touched my life, and how terrible it was to have theirs ripped away. And I felt it, the hurt, running off my shoulders. I've never hurt so much in my life. In my soul. I couldn't summon the strength to hit the button on the airlock. They didn't deserve any of this, and they'd just be forgotten out there. I think I'll remember them for one more day. Maybe I can do it tomorrow. Day 94. Salvage ship, the Wretched. Flight engineer Strider reporting. While moving the bodies of the crew yesterday, I took Kaylee's badge. She was lead research technician and part of the officer's crew. They had access to areas of the ship I'd never been in before. Maybe there could be something of use. Certainly didn't need it anymore. Headed to the bridge and swiped it to access the officer's quarters, just down the corridor. I don't know what I was hoping for. Another distress beacon, a magic SOS button. But their quarters looked just like the rest of the ship. Claw marks lining the walls, bodies lining the floor. Nothing could help me now. And that sound, it's ringing in my head. I swear, that high-pitched screech rising and falling as it rounds the ship, and the constant rhythmic tapping on the metal. It's been days now. The creature hasn't found a way in. It can't, right? Why won't it leave? I'll just keep doing my rounds. Keep this ship limping along. But that creature doesn't stop. It will get in. It's not a matter of if, but when. I decided I needed to hole up somewhere in case it does get in. So I spent the better part of the afternoon moving the bodies out of the medical bay and sliding furniture around to create barricades. There were so many bodies. They came here when they got hurt, and then they came here just to get away. It ain't pretty, and I can barely get in and out. But neither can that creature, right? Flight engineer Strider, signing off. Does this keycard make me an officer now? Day 95. Salvage ship, the Wretched. Flight engineer Strider reporting. So, this morning, as I was running through my maintenance... What the... What's that alarm? Is it here? I gotta shut the door. Dang it! Sorry, Wash. Stupid robot floor mob. Okay, I'm back. It was a proximity alarm. Creature must have knocked some sensor off the hull in one of its passes. But it's just an external sensor, so I shut off the alarm systems. That'll be fine, right? Whew. Manual says the proximity sensors are mounted externally on the ship. But I can't sleep anyways. Whew. Might as well just watch the monitors just to make sure. There's nothing there. Just dark space. No ships. No hope. No rescue. Good times never seemed so gone. Flight engineer Caroline Strider. Signing off for the last time, I suppose. Day 96. Salvage ship, the Wretched. Flight engineer Strider reporting. Everything hurts. Aches my insides and out. Woke up late this morning to dark. I thought I was gone. On the other side or something. It was cold. I could see frost with every exhale of my breath. Then, as my eyes adjusted, I saw the monitors, comms, the distress beacon signal, all dark. The power was down. And not just the main, but the backup generator was sputtering too. It took all day, but I was able to get the power back on. I had to pull so many parts from the backup generator. If it happens again, there won't be nothing else I can do about it. Flight engineer Strider, signing off and hoping the power stays on for one more night. Day 97. Salvage ship, the Wretched. Flight engineer Strider reporting. Today was damage control from the power outage. Airlocks were checked. Systems needed to be recalibrated. Doors needed to be reactivated. And unfortunately, I had forgotten to check the climate control settings in the mess hall until I finally headed there to eat dinner. Mold had overtaken the majority of the remaining carbohydrate stores. All the bread and grains were tainted by it. I sealed that section of the pantry locker off and hope it doesn't spread to the rest. I've been meaning to cut carbs anyways. And Nara swore by it. Flight engineer Caroline Strider, signing off, and on a diet whether I wanted it or not. Day 98. Salvage ship, the Wretched. Flight engineer Strider reporting. Woke up this morning, misted by the fire suppression system. After the engine fire, I rigged them to activate on the entire ship whenever a fire broke out. Problem is, I can't tell where the fire occurred. So now, I have no way of preventing it from happening again. Genius, right? Good news? The fire suppression system worked like a charm, and my skin only burned for an hour or so. And you know what's really bothering me? It's messed up that I find that orbiting screech and tap into the metal comforting, right? I mean, that creature isn't inherently mean. That's just a word we use to describe human feelings, emotions, and intent. What is it? What's it doing? Does it have a name, like Tentacle Ball or Steve? Does it call itself Yashira Quail Bachu or something like that in an alien language? I wonder. But thoughts like that aren't always the best, so I decided to pass the time by reading another journal today. In this one, they were making fun of Zoe's dream. I remember I was in the mess hall when she got all butthurt about it too. She was talking about some dream she had where a spaghetti tentacled green monster busted through the bridge and started ripping through the crew and how it felt so real, like it was really happening. A couple of people started yelling at her about her nonsense, calling it space madness. If I remember right, it almost turned into a fist fight. How did she know that was going to happen? And why didn't we listen to her? She sounded like it was so real. She was concerned. Oh, the asteroids happened. But now that I'm thinking about it, even if those asteroids didn't hit us, would we have really believed her? Flight engineer Strider, signing off, and start my dream journal back up. Day 99. Salvage ship, the Wretched. Flight Engineer Stratter, reporting. During routine checks this morning, I noticed an odd sound on the second deck. Further investigation found that the main life support system pump is making a frightening grinding sound. It's not my area of expertise, and all the diagnostics in the manual didn't seem to identify a problem. So, just to be safe, I gathered 3 spacewalk suits with oxygen tanks and prepped them in my barricaded med bay. Not sure how long they'll last, but I've got them, and that's something. And something's better than nothing. The distress beacon still flashing, but no response. I swore I saw something big on the scanner, but before I could fire up the comms, it disappeared. But then showed up again a few hours later. And quickly disappeared. And showed up again hours later. Not really sure if there's anything there. Or maybe the scanner's faulty. Or the distress beacon. But I didn't have much time to ponder that conundrum, because I noticed some low oxygen alerts coming from the engine room. Upon further investigation, I don't know how I didn't notice it the other times I've been down there, there was some additional asteroid damage that was causing a small oxygen leak. It took a few hours, but I was able to patch it. It's amazing how much damage a few small asteroids caused to this ship. They were so small, and the scanners didn't even pick them up. Maybe the scanner is faulty. What the heck was that large thing I saw earlier? Flight Engineer Stratter, signing off and ready for some good news. Day 100. Triple digits! Boom, boom. Please restart recording. You must follow daily log protocol to submit reports to the drive. Yeah, I know. Can a doomed girl get excited for just 1 second? Day 100. Salvage ship the Wretched. Flight Engineer Stratter reporting. That hole in the engine bay leaking oxygen got me thinking. There could be small holes like that anywhere outside the ship. And it was just a matter of time until that creature found one and tore its way in. So after my routine checks, I spent most of the day determining the best and most secure hiding places throughout the ship. Spread out, of course, just in case. Number 1, med bay. Number 2, mess hall pantry. Number 3, lower deck bathrooms. Number 4, life support pump room. Number 5, therapist's office. Flight Engineer Caroline Stratter, signing off. Ain't that therapist's office thing ironic? Don't you think? Maybe a little too ironic? But it does have multiple deadbolts on a metal door, so it made the list. Day 101. Salvage ship the Wretched. Flight Engineer Stratter reporting. There ain't nothing worse than the smell of raw sewage. One of the silos sprung a leak today. I've never patched something so quick in my life. And near the leak, I found part of it, the creature. A 4-foot-long tentacle with small serrated teeth along all of its edges and a long dagger-like claw at the end. Was it here all along? Did the creature do this somehow? And why is the creature even still here? How is it surviving in the freezing vacuum of space? It seems obsessed with destroying me. What did I ever do to it? We just got stuck here in the Tortuga territory. It was named after a famous pirate stronghold. Wait, territory. Is it just defending its territory? Are we the unwelcome invaders? Well, although I can't know its true intentions, I can tell it's getting smarter. While eating lunch, the entire ship lurched, nearly sliding my plate across the table. Then the alarm sounded. Dang thing detached one of the habitat modules. I was able to seal off that area of the ship from an external security console before the creature could get in. But it's just a matter of time now. Number 1, med bay. Number 2, mess hall pantry. Number 3, lower deck bathrooms. Number 4, life support pump room. Number 5, ironic but secure, therapist's office. This thing's gotten into my head. If it could detach an entire portion of the ship, I have to be ready. That's why I moved all the communications equipment into my barricaded medbay. Right now, I'm taking full inventory of supplies, ammo, and oxygen. I think I just heard it make a pass over this room. The lights are flickering in the corridor. It just passed over the room again. It's here. It knows I'm here. And with that, the story of Caroline Strider, the last surviving crew member of the Wretched, comes to a close. I really hope you enjoyed this episode of NatFun. It was a departure from our normal cheeky, silly style episodes. Still try to sneak some in there, but it was such an amazing experience to play such a different and deep game system. If you haven't heard of The Wretched, I highly recommend you check it out. It was created by Bisette, and the core mechanics are so adaptable and beautiful that even if sci-fi isn't your thing, there are hundreds of other solo games based on the Wretched and Alone game mechanics, or SRD. We even featured one of the game jams in our earlier episode, Doritos Last Day, where Dan played unfeeded as a cat that had convinced itself it would never be fed again. Spoiler alert, it was fed at dinner time just like every other day. You can find the links to the original The Wretched game, the backer kit for the sequel, The Haunting of the Wretched, and the itch.io game jam using the Wretched and Alone SRD, all in our show notes. But seriously, if you are at all intrigued by this game system and want to try it in a different setting, you should. And with that, I hope you can find yourself a solo RPG game system, some cards, a dice, and a block tower, so you can roll into your own NatFun. And if you want a little sweet surprise, stick around for the trailer for our next hijinks episode. Coming up right now. Okay. A little bit of powdered sugar on this macaroon, some extra chopped nuts on this donut, 2 more layers of frosting on this brownie, and last, a little sprinkle of love. Oops, the lid fell off. Ugh. Okay, I need to get a couple more ingredients for your friends. Don't go anywhere. That cake, you had to stop holding it with the spoon. It's teetering now.
Run!
So what are Richard and Gwen doing?
I think Richard has back to the cake because he stopped it and he was talking to her like it's no big deal. So his back is currently to the cake. In my mind.
Her eyes are just getting bigger and bigger. Run, 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 run. Ah!
Will the adorable desserts escape the cake or become part of its decoration? Come back and join us for our hijinks episode, Sweet Escape. Coming soon to NatFun on your favorite podcast listening network.